Oh, mines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And are you ready to rumble? I'm not. I haven't even packed my suitcase yet. Get started without me, all right? But do me a favor and hit that like button or you'll make the Easter Bunny cry. And we just did a live stream and we went in on the Flissa $13 D2 knife. So, let's take a look at what we're holding because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So, first things first and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We've got the black G10. We got a flipper tab. Let's flick the bean. And we got right about 3.5 inches or so of D2, maybe, steel. Let's talk about this. So, this is one that I carried for a week, and it did okay enough. The factory edge was terrible, and that was the only thing that really stood out, was a bad factory edge. It wasn't sharpened well from the factory, but I figured, you know what? We can sharpen it. We can do something with it. You know, and it's like, of course, this guy right here. When you get a good one, and the heat treatment's right and everything else, this thing's absolutely epic. The problem is, it's so hard to find one that doesn't have massive quality control issues, specifically heat treatment issues. So, I've been kind of on the hunt for something that can replace that as far as being in the $10 range, D2 steel, good quality, what have you. So I figured maybe we'd have something with this. And we don't. We do not. So, we started this test off. All right, we started this test off at a 415, give or take, on the reader where I tested it. Okay, so, you know, you move that thing around a little bit. You're testing an area as wide as that test wire is thick, so your numbers will change around a little bit. I think we had high 300s, like 390s, before, like when I did the last video on it. So it'll change a little bit as you go, and of course, there'll be small variables. The tester will get you in the ballpark. You know, to get you in the ballpark, it's not the most precise thing in the world, but it gives us a number to work with. And just to get this out of the way, I used the amount of time spent cutting, not counting the individual cuts, because that would be catastrophically unmanageable. There's no way to do that effectively, so we just use the amount of time we spent cutting, and it gives us some pretty consistent, reliable results. If it's not good enough for you, I understand, but I gotta throw that out there because it will come up. So, you know, we ran this for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's a cut every second or so, 4 to 7 inches. Like, it wasn't a lot of cardboard. It wasn't. We pulled something ridiculous out of it. I can't remember what, but it wore pretty fast, and the cuts were looking like trash. So I figured, all right, obtuse factory angle, not that sharp. Those things add up to a perfect storm of not cutting. So we sharpened this thing, and that's where the first major problem showed up. All right, we've been doing this long enough to know if you can't get that sharpened down below a certain point, you got some issues, boy. So I sharpened this, and I mean, we gave it the beans. We gave it everything we had. We put it on the Work Sharp Precision Adjust Professional. We went all the way up to 3,000 grit on those stones. We stropped it from 9 micron diamond emulsion down to 0.1 micron diamond emulsion. All right, this normally gives us a crazy sharp edge down in the 120s to 140s on a lot of knives with your basic grind and your basic blade stock thickness and your basic 17-degree edge. And we did a fairly fat bevel on this thing. Like, we did all the things that set D2 up to do well on Cardboard Slayer. We did all the things. We were hitting 250 to 300, and the best I could pull was a 251 on the tester. Okay, so that already tells us the HRC on this is whack. Something is very wrong here. But we took that 251 and we started running with it, and we ran for an hour. We ran for an hour, and it was starting to have some pretty severe problems. And we stopped to check it because we were at the end of the hour. And right around in here, we pulled a 737, which was outrageous. We pulled a 647 a little bit closer to it, just kind of right out of the path of that first point of contact with the cut. Those are devastated edge numbers. Those are devastated. 600 is the point where the edge is devastated and you need to sharpen it. That's when the cardboard's tearing and rolling and not cutting, and it was still pushing through the cardboard okay. We pulled somewhere in the heel back here a 429, and then up towards the tip we pulled a 532. So this was not consistent edge wear. This was not consistent with D2's edge wear. You know, D2, if you start around the 175 range, 140 to 175, over that first hour, you will push up through the 300s, and you'll see significant edge wear into the 300s. And you'll be surprised, because that's a lot of wear. But then it'll stabilize. It'll stabilize, and it'll hit 400, and it'll hang there for the next couple hours and slowly creep up towards 500. You go into the fourth hour. You go into hour number 4. You get the first half hour, you're working your way through the 500s. That last half hour, it just drops off a cliff, and it's done at about 600, right about 4 hours. That's what we get almost every single time, unless the HRC is a bit low. Okay, that's why I'm saying this is such a terrible thing. This is such a terrible thing. So, you know, we took it. We're like, all right, we're done cutting with this. We're going to try to sharpen it again. So I hit it with the Work Sharp Precision Adjust. I gave it the beans again, and I spent a lot of extra time hogging off material to try to get past any burned steel that may be causing that bad edge. Could not pull a burr up. That was not pulling a burr up. It wouldn't do what it needed to do. We kept hogging off material and hogging off material and hogging off material, and nothing would happen. We got it down to the 250-ish area. So it's like, all right, I'm not seeing a burr forming the way I want it to, so we got out the Kin Onion belt grinder. We hit that thing, and we hogged off even more material on the belt grinder and saw a burr come up. So we see the burr come up, we go through the full polishing routine, get it down on the diamond emulsion on the strops, and rock that out. Still hit the 250s. So I said, all right, forget it. We're going to freehand this one. So I brought out the block, and it is a cheap 4-sided block from Harbor Freight. It's nothing great, but I have gotten some good edges off it. And so we start off on the 200 grit. And I push, and I push, and I push, and I see a burr come up, and I keep pushing with the burr coming up until I hit the point where it's like, all right, we've done all we can. Let's move on. So we go through all 4 sides of that sharpening block, and we end up at 600 grit. And I do the light drags backwards to break the burr off, and then we get out the strop with the diamond emulsion. We stropped the pants off it. Still got it down to about 250. All right. Something is very, very wrong with the heat treatment on this steel. Something is very wrong with the HRC. Like, this is an entire problem. You know, and I had mentioned on the last video I did on this thing that if it did good on Cardboard Slayer, we'd have something. Now, of course, that was with the caveat that it's $13 D2 steel. This was every bit as likely to happen as it was at doing good, unfortunately. Now, I had hopes, and I had a feeling it might do good, but my God, it did not. All right, this steel right here is worse than wet diarrhea in a latex gimp suit on a hot day. I've used that one before, but I felt like it deserved a second run. All right, so, I mean, and outside of that, everything about this is good enough. You know, the ergonomics, that hour that I cut with it, really no major issues. No major issues with the ergonomics. That was just fine. No issues there, which was a pleasant surprise. The inside of these the liners are definitely chamfered. There's that $5 word again. So, you know, they're chamfered, and, you know, it's such a shame. It's such a shame that the steel let it down this badly. But what do you do? So I'm not planning on buying any of the $10 flisses with D2 because I'll have the expectation that that's probably going to happen, and I don't want that to be the outlier. You know, I don't want that to be an outlier that we have one do really good and then a ton of them do like this. Like, that's no good. That is no good at all. This is now down there with the Ozark Trail D2 knife for just overall quality. So, you guys know I love sharing with you what happened during Cardboard Slayer. That's what happened with this thing, and I cannot tell you. We had 2 knives do the exact same thing. All right, and we have had a number of live streams where knives just would not get sharp because the HRC was jacked up or something like that. That is the risk you take when you're playing around with budget stuff like this. When you're playing around with stuff like this, you got that chance of running into a wall. And, you know, I like sharpening my stuff. I like when I get a nice sharp edge. It's very, very, very satisfying. I know how to sharpen. I've done plenty of it. You know, but this will leave you feeling like you are completely incompetent. Either you're letting your equipment down or your equipment's letting you down. It will mess with you so badly. I hate it when it happens. And we had 2 in a row. Like, it ruined the entire night. You know, I went upstairs afterwards kind of angry. So, you know, again, you guys know I love sharing with you what happened during Cardboard Slayer. And that's what happened during this disappointment of a run. Can't think of anything else to add. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so, so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live streams, regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let's let Flissa know what we think about this. And as always, I'm going to link off to Cutting Lace CDC's Diamond Emulsion if you want to step your stropping game up. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get paid. I just want to support a friend of the channel and a small business. So, all that being said, y'all have a nice day.